Last Sunday, we put the spotlight on traditional markets, a fading part of daily commerce in Taiwan. Today, we turn to some traditional markets that refuse to become obsolete. One market in the heart of Taipei is thriving after upgrading its facilities, but another is floundering after setting up payment services that have pushed out older shoppers. Tonight, in part 2 of our special report, Old Markets in a New World, we explored what can go right and what can go wrong when markets reinvent themselves for the modern world.
In the past, Puzi First Market was the center of life in the community. There were about 200 stalls operating there, and people selling their wares 24 hours a day. Also, every year in the 7th lunar month during Ghost Festival, the market would burst with crowds.
Yan grew up in the market, got married there, and started his business there. Today, he has his granddaughter by his side while he works there. However, the Puzi First Market he's known all his life is now very different from what it was 40 years ago. The market opens every morning at 8 and stays open until 9 p.m. Aside from fresh produce and daily goods, this market is known for the local dishes its vendors make. But when we stop by today at noon, there are very few stalls open. Over half the seats in the dining area are empty. Liu Xiuying, 82, has run a stall at the market for over 70 years. Over the years, many of the stall owners she's known have left. Today, very few stalls are still here.
There was a pork butcher across from me. A little farther down was a vegetable vendor, and behind that were fishmongers.
Established in 1905, Puzi First Market has over 100 years of history. As the building was old and at risk of collapsing, the Jiayi city government had it demolished and rebuilt in 1982.
However, the temporary market space set up while it was being rebuilt had trouble attracting vendors because it was too far away and the space was too small, making it very inconvenient. So in the end, the temporary market didn't work out.
The temporary market was a flop, and the new market took 4 years to build. Consequently, vendors folded up shop, and the market's customers were snatched up by a nearby market. Even the completion of the new market failed to draw customers back, and business was bad for over a decade. Finally, in 2007, a new opportunity for change presented itself.
The city government introduced a fund for traditional markets to allow them to make improvements. Puzi First Market had the idea of building a food court.
The initial idea was for the market's vendors to be concentrated in a square space at the center of the market, with the outside perimeter used for a food court. While the new market appeared large enough to accommodate this, vendors found themselves crowded into a smaller area with no place for display counters or other implements.
Lots of vendors told us that the whole design and the current structure made it impossible for them to work. For example, the fridge and display counter. There was no way for them to arrange that stuff.
Despite its bid to draw the crowds back, the market remained deserted.
If you want to bring the crowds back, you need to bring in unique stalls. At the moment, there is nothing special in the market to draw people in. We've held several events, but they were just a flash in the pan.
Shifting focus to northern Taiwan, we find numerous hypermarkets that have made their way into the city. How do small and medium markets and traditional wet markets compete in the face of this new challenge? Located on Taipei's Chongqing North Road, Dalong Market has overcome the dirty, smelly impression that people have of wet markets by storing waste in a refrigerated room. The room prevents the growth of bacteria and the development of foul smells from rotting food. Fresh produce and meat are also kept in refrigerated storage units, and each stall has wastewater facilities. Dirty water is kept from splashing on floors, and the market is kept clean.
For customers buying fresh things, fresh foods, we can handle personalized requests. For example, if you don't plan to eat the fresh food right away, we can vacuum seal it for you. Wet markets have to make changes. Not making changes just don't work. They will be dirty, messy, and filled with rats. If we want to compete with supermarkets, we need the right environment. It's the only way to be competitive.
Its changes in place, Dalong Market shows it is motivated to compete. But how has business been over the past 2 years? We spoke to the vendors one by one to find out. Here at this butcher stall, we're told that business is worryingly poor. When it set out to renovate, the market aimed for a trendy style and advertised alternative payment methods to attract a younger crowd. But the market's location has remained a problem. Located in one of Taipei's older districts, Datong, the residents nearby are mostly elderly. In its attempt to appeal to younger consumers, the market appears to have alienated older customers.
In the initial planning stages, you need to do market research. For example, if I want to open a storefront, I need to know about the local residents, the local consumers.
We went on a search for a traditional market that's been commercially successful after its modernization. Established in 1909, Nanmen Market had to be rebuilt due to the use of sand in its original construction. The market closed in October 2019 ahead of demolition. The new Nanmen Market is slated for completion in 2023, and a temporary location has been set up, a 10-minute walk away on Hangzhou South Road. This may be just a temporary location, but this market is spacious and clean. The stalls are attractive and the food fresh. Judging by the crowds, it is safe to say that temporary relocation has not destroyed this market's business. There are even visitors who make the trip from Hsinchu and Miaoli to shop here. Like at other markets, when Nanmen Market's administration said it was rebuilding the facilities, there were many vendors who were vexed and opposed. This resistance is the biggest challenge that markets face in their attempts to modernize. This is the chairman of the temporary Nanmen Markets Autonomous Association, Wang Quanguo. He worked behind the scenes to dispel vendors' concerns.
Actually, what traditional markets are most averse to is moving locations. In the early stage, I spoke with them and said it's impossible that we wouldn't lose customers. I asked what we could do to prevent that.
Wang spent a year communicating with the government and the vendors. He secured funds for the vendors to renovate their stalls. To ensure customers could get to the new location, the association also arranged for a shuttle bus to pick up customers at the MRT station. A bus leaves the station every 10 minutes, dropping customers off at the entrance to the market. With its location in the heart of Taipei, Nanmen Market is surrounded by tourist spots. Many of the visitors to the market are young people and tourists, and vendors all strive to diversify their products. For example, one shop that used to specialize in cakes, cookies, and other desserts is now selling products made with cranberries, pumpkins, and other ingredients that are aimed at a more health-conscious consumer. Customers can also make custom requests, such as large peach-shaped pastries celebrating longevity with a personalized message.
Things like convenience, product quality, customer service attitude, and store facilities can be good measures of how successful a vendor is in modernizing.
An atmosphere reminiscent of old Taiwan is what gives the alleys and side streets of the nation's cities their special charm. Unchanged by time, older buildings speak of days long gone, while surrounded by skyscrapers that speak of what has come to be. Only time will tell if Taiwan's traditional markets can straddle that invisible barrier, keeping true to the past while staying relevant in the future.